Hi, Stephanie Mackara here with Money Minded Mondays with Mackara. We've made it to April. And April is one of my favorite months, not only because it's springtime, but because it's also Financial Literacy Month. And what better way to spend April than to be getting more financially literate and helping build a strong foundation for your future and your family's future. So thanks for joining me. Again, Stephanie Mackara, we're here to talk this month about budgeting. People hear budgeting and it's like such an ugly word. If you think about what we've already accomplished, right? We've talked about our money mindset. We've talked about shifting our perspective in the way that we view and feel about money. We've talked about knowing your starting point, right? That's getting your personal balance sheet aligned to make sure that you're very clear about what your assets are, what consists of an asset and what consists of a liability. And you're very clear on, your starting point, where we're going forward from here. And you've also spent some time envisioning your future, right? You have to have goals in order to achieve them. And so when you think about your future and you think about where you want to be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, how are you going to get there? And that's what we're going to be talking about. And so I mentioned the word budget, and it is such an ugly word. So we also refer to it as your spending survey. Your spending survey just sounds a little nicer rolling off the tongue. And so what I'd like you to do is use one of the apps that we talked about before. We talked about mint.com, mint.com, or YNAB, which is You Need a Budget. Either one of those, Quicken if you own a business, either one of those, or even your credit card can do a really good job of pulling together all of your spending, we call it your flows, right? How do you manage your flows? What's coming in and what's going out? And so your spending survey is really a look at the money that's going out. And I'm very visual, so having a visual about the slices of the pie and where you're spending it is so powerful. More times than not, we're looking at it and saying, wow, do we really eat that much food? Spending at the grocery, spending on food, spending on restaurants tends to be our biggest expenses. But what we're doing here is really think about budgeting as a tool for awareness. You're just simply making yourself aware, no judgment. You're not judging what you're doing or what you're spending. You're just providing clarity and awareness. And if you can spend the next week focused on pulling all your data together and really looking at what your spending flows are, then we'll talk next week about how to approach that. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.